This is the all-new generation of the BMW X1. Is it now one of the best compact premium SUVs overall? Let's find out here with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen and full length. Let's go! The new styling in the front here with really large double kidney look. Wow, really impressive already here for their small SUV. And also here these contrasting vertical fins. The air intake on the inside is adaptive. And you can see the new LED lamps. These ones here, the optional adaptive LED lamps. And then they also have a modern daytime running light signature. In the lower part, it really depends on which version you pick. This one here with the M Sport. Other than that, the X-Line, for example, would have the contrasting lower part in silver. And the turning indicators here replace the front daytime running light. Looks really fancy, doesn't it? The length at 4 meters 50 or 177 inches, so around about 5 centimeters or 2 inches longer than the previous generation. And wheels from 17 to 20 inch. These here are 18 inch, but with winter tires, so they look a little bit more balloonish. You can get a more, like a cooler or more aggressive look with summer tires and also bigger wheels. But then you might also lose some comfort if you go too big. Talking about the comfort, as for suspension, next to the base suspension, you can also get an adaptive M suspension, which we have here today. And that is then 15 millimeters lower or 0.6 inches lower. However, you can also then adapt the comfort depending on the driving mode. Frames around the windows, it always depends on which version you pick and if you go for a shadow line or not and so on. You really have to go deep into the configurator because there are different possibilities, and here also with the high gloss then in the lower part. Overall a very likable design, not too aggressive. Also painted wheel arches here in the vehicle color in the M Sport. However, you can also get it in a more contrasting look with the X-Line. In the rear with a more modern tail lamp design here, and the M Sport has these dark inserts right here. The color, by the way, is Storm Bay Metallic, a very interesting one. It really changes the nuances of the color depending on the light. Also in this M Sport we have here these diffuser style lower endings, really cool, and there are no fake exhaust tips whatsoever, so a great clean design choice. No work for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police for today at least. Then in this new generation it also comes with wider track, so that gives a better stance on the road. It also promises better driving feeling. We'll see more about that later. And turning indicators in the rear, well, they don't look that spectacular, do they? The car key is extremely light indeed. As here also in the M Sport, the beautiful colors. Then flush door handles here, they always stay like this and they fold up like this. And I mean, the feedback is not too bad. Then door closing sound is actually quite good. Not too bad, but also not the best ones we've heard. Inside of the doors, here with soft touch sensor tech, you can also get that one, as well as for the dashboard. And here the Harman Kardon sound system with a nice design visualization. And also the buttons at the inside of the doors resonates a very good quality indeed. Here the M Sport steering wheel looks more spectacular, especially in here in that lower area. That's pretty cool. And still real buttons at the steering wheel. That's what we really prefer, don't we? Depending on the market, you'd start with fabric seats as base. Then the M Sport comes usually with Alcantara on the inside, Sensatec outside, and here these ones are the full perforated Sensatec seats. So they're breathable and full leatherette, make a very good quality impression from the first sight. And indeed, great comfort here. From the surface, it's really soft, good quality, and also the seat ergonomics, they have improved it here in the new generation, and they hold you really tight as well without being too narrow. So well done. Here the steering wheel manually up and down, in and out, very smooth process. And with 189 or 6'2", I still have enough headroom left, although this one here is equipped with the panoramic roof. You can also open that one, and there's also a shade to make it darker. Interior overview, revolutionary change, completely different. Nice styling right here, and also with the integration of the ambient lighting. Sensatec dashboard is an option that feels really nicely. And then the screen is like one curved display. The left side 10.25 inch, right side 10.7 inch. But the naming is strange. This one is called control display and this one is called info display. Shouldn't be the other way around as for the naming. I don't really get it. Well, let's call it instruments and infotainment. That's how we call it here. The steering wheel also has a great design here, doesn't it? And also the lower part is very interesting. But let's first take a look at the infotainment. Because this is here BMW OS 8 now, it has more functionality. It's not as easy to control as the old one. You get used to it bit by bit. For example, here interior lighting you can control right here, the ambient lighting. Then you can also pick the different colors right here and they change accordingly here. For example, that looks actually very fancy indeed. The home menu is either like this or there's another home menu. Press it here then for the whole vehicle overview and some hotkeys here on the left side, for example, also to the car internal GPS, and it's actually quite responsive. What is essential actually in the OS 8 and also a big advantage is that the integration of the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto right here, it is more consistent. So this wireless connection only at BMW, now it is more stable in the OS 8. And the Harman Kardon sound system actually does a very nice job here in this segment here. Very nice one indeed. Just this climate unit here, it is always in the screen. That's not to my liking, at least it always stays in this position. And this is the whole climate menu where you can also, for example, activate the steering wheel heating or the seat heating. And you can also deactivate or activate the AC now. So this has been upgraded from the very early versions. And the rear view camera, well, does the job definitely, not bad. Resolution maybe could be a little bit better, but it's also quite dark now outside. And what's also cool here, in the CarPlay mode, you can have Apple Maps. Also on the left side in the instruments, or with Android Auto, it would work with Google Maps. These two possibilities. Digital instruments, you can see here the RPMs can turn up in the right side. You can also change the whole layout of that. For example, here, like this or like this, but I more prefer the layout where you can still see the RPM. It's more classic layout. And then also content-wise, you can, for example, also have this compass here, but you can also induce the speed here in the middle part. That's what I would actually use for driving. And the head-up display, very clear and crisp to read, a helpful feature. And do you see this flying middle console? This is taken over from the BMW iX, from the big EV SUV. So some styling elements then also in their compact premium SUV. But is it also functional? Well, in a way, because there's a lot of storage space then underneath. Here in the lower middle console, it's very interesting. You have this kind of seat belt here for your smartphone. That way you can secure it so it doesn't fly all over the place while driving. And when I take it out, you can see actually you have these holes back there and they suck away the hot air from the inductive charging pad at the smartphone so it doesn't overheat. And you have these cup holders, not adaptive though, that's hit and miss. And here two USB-C chargers. On top of the flying middle console, you stop the vehicle. This is here the shifting lever here for drive or sports mode. So I'm going to show you that. Reverse. And then here in the middle part, you have at least still a manual volume jog. That's good to have. And here you pick the driving modes. However, you always have to select them then in the touchscreen. Here, for example, the sport mode to confirm it once again. So not the quickest solution while driving. And finally here the middle console, you open it here and it folds open and you have so much space underneath. Inside of the doors in the rear, this material here is rather hardback, but at least it has some structure, softer than here for your elbows. Beautiful styling from the Harman Kardon sound system. And then you can see here, rear interior of the new generation, also with the perforation on the rear seats if you went for this very interior. And it's kind of hard back here at the recess, at the back part of the seats. Let's see how that one turns out as for the legroom. Rear seating position, well, as the seat as I would be driving here, tall person and 189 or 6'2" in the back. There is some headroom left, although this is equipped with the panoramic roof, which gives a great view indeed. Wow, and it's so wide here in the rear. It's great for the rear passengers. When you put your knees on the outside, you do hit the seat. On the inside, this recess here helps. So not plenty of space, but in this segment, it's actually kind of average. But the comfort here also on the on the perforated sensor tech here in the back is really good. So good seating ergonomics also for the rear passengers. And you can also change that how you want that angle. You can make it more upright, but you can also put it more in the back. And these combustion engine versions, not available for the PHEV or the EV, for the iX. Here the normal combustion engine version, they can also move the bench forward and back, and that of course can make the trunk longer, or than here for the maximum legroom. The trunk at 540 up to 1,600 liters, 50 liters more than before. However, you lose it again when you go for the EV or the plug-in hybrid version. And then here the length is about 86 centimeters or 34 inches. And the width here is a good meter of 40 inches. And you can see here the cabin trolley fits in a vertical way, no problem. However, with the EV and the plug-in hybrid, it's not such a problem, because here above that you don't lose too much. It's just what you have underneath, and there we have even more space here in the pure petrol version, for example. The split here is 1-1-1, so you can individualize these folding mechanisms, and then you have a total length of about 155 meters or 61 inches. A wide variety of engine choices, that is the current BMW strategy. So here you have 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel, a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder petrol engine, the 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol engine we have here. Today is 23i. There's also a more powerful 28i version available in the US. Then there's also a plug-in hybrid drivetrain based on the 3-cylinder petrol engine, and an all-EV version, the BMW iX1. This one here, the 23i, has an acceleration figure of around 7 seconds. The 28i for the US would be a little bit faster, around 6 seconds in the acceleration figure. And I can already tell you the fuel economy here is less than 7 liters on 1 kilometer, so it's about 35 mpg US. And about 45 mpg UK, and the same consumption figure will also more or less count for the 28i. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, starting here on the German Autobahn with the BMW X1. And we can pick a My Mode, Sport Mode, then we have to activate it once again, the infotainment system, not the most practical thing to do. And if you also want the better or sportier shifting, then we turn the shifting lever backwards, and we also in the S shifting mode. This is in the sportiest setup here for this vehicle, and we start from 45 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out. Let's go. $120, $150. 80 kilometers an hour. This is, by the way, the speed limit just when it's wet. Well, we're reasonably quick. Of course, it's not the fastest here overall with this 23i. Around 7 seconds in the acceleration figure from 0. And the 28i, which would be the corresponding model in the US with a little bit more power, is second quicker, about 6 seconds than in the acceleration figure. But they have the same base engine, the 2-liter 4-cylinder. So acceleration-wise, yeah, it's not the quickest one. It's the small X1, the compact SUV, but it feels so great on the Autobahn. We have the adaptive M suspension here. That means when I'm in the sport mode, I have a little bit stiffer feedback from the suspension. The M Sport suspension here in the adaptive style is also 50 millimeters or 0.6 inch lower, and it just gives me such a great control here on the German Autobahn. Really nice, so flawless suspension setup, so it's stiff enough, sporty enough, but at the same time it's also comfortable enough. And well, we have 18-inch winter tires here, and they are of course in a way forgiving as for the comfort, but at the same time they still feel sporty enough. And I'm not sure if you heard that already, when I'm using the turning indicators, they give you such a great sporty feeling, and they're so much fun. Rarely ever have we had turning indicators that are so much fun, like bam, you know, like you can really hammer them in. That's so awesome. I mean, it's so much fun to use the turning indicators. Hardly ever have that. From the sound, both, and also from that haptics, you know. So you can also use this tip function that you just tip them and then turning indicators are showing. But here it's really more fun to hammer them in indeed. Let's switch back to the normal personal mode here. Then the suspension giving us a little bit more comfort. And we can also, for more relaxed shifting, so to speak, that the gears are not turned up that high, and also for more efficiency, go back to the D driving mode. Overall, you maybe also heard the noise insulation, even at higher speeds, was superb. So great noise insulation, worked on that here also in the new generation, and also more aerodynamics, better wind efficiency. And we also heard that in a way that we have less wind turbulences from everything they built on the outside of the vehicle, like here the side mirrors and so on. And that was also one of the plan, that the wind efficiency of everything that was attached to the vehicle has been increased. And that's of course and also good for noise insulation. So it really feels so much at home here on the motorway, although it's a compact vehicle, but it also feels so sporty. So it feels on the one hand grown up enough that it's all SUV you need, at the same time, because of the compact size and the comparable to bigger vehicles, lower weight, it feels so agile. Talking about agility, I have had some chat with the engineer that designed the steering input, and he said they made it, let's say, in a way loose and really light to control, so the whole car feels lighter to control. And yes, that does work. However, it doesn't feel most natural. So it feels really fun and sporty to steer that car around. Yes, but then again, here in that low degree angle, I have a little bit, I have not enough feedback. But then when I'm getting to the outside area of that, I have too much. So you have to be careful on the motorway then. And I don't share this approach, so I would have had more feedback from the vehicle, from the steering, and tune it towards a more natural driving input. I think that is what BMW should stand for, the most natural steering input, and not the most agile one. You know what I mean? What's your take on that? Please share your opinion with me in the comments, and then I can take a look at that later on when I'm not driving. Okay, I can understand the philosophy, but once again, I don't share this. By the way, even if you are in the normal driving mode, just pin it down, and it will also do everything reasonably quick. It was like 100 to 140 kilometers an hour. Yes, it's not the most powerful engine, but definitely better than the 1.4 liter 3-cylinder. In the UK, the engine choices are somewhat limited, at least at this moment when we produce this video here. So when you want to go have a very quick version, you gotta pick the plug-in hybrid or something. But we also had experience when ask yourself, hey, diesel, petrol, plug-in hybrid, electric. In the driving part where we compared the petrol to the pure electric one, the pure electric one is so much fun to drive and is also really powerful, the quickest version there is. So you can have more driving fun in a way with that. On the other hand, the petrol engine is lighter. So when you are already at speed and do some, driving agility, then this petrol engine version here will feel better, especially when you are at speed and then suddenly go into a corner. Then you can't deny physics with the weight of the electric vehicle. Then the petrol engine will be the best choice. So I think for fun, as for handling dynamics, the pure petrol engine 23i or then 28i in the US will be the best pick. For the most explosive driving fun, as for acceleration, it will definitely be the iX1, and due to the lower center of gravity, it will also still deliver a lot of fun in driving. And if you have the charging infrastructure suitable, the iX1 is also quite efficient, has good range and so on, then you might as well go for the EV version. Otherwise, if your charging infrastructure is not up yet, then the pure petrol engine here is also a very, very good choice. No doubt as for that. So I'm really happy with that one, especially as for driving dynamics. Yes, steering could be fine-tuned a little bit more, that it's stiffer and has more control, more natural feeling. That's good. Other than that, assistance systems, they are also really nicely thought out here. Activate them at the steering wheel, and they're so flawless indeed. It's also with an active steering here, if you get the highest build of that. And you see here, it's a very smooth input from the steering wheel that does itself. Here, slide left bend on that motorway here, and it's doing a flawless job. Maybe you've already seen the blind spot monitor. Let me show it to you. That red Skoda might overtake us now, so we can show that. So there's a triangle appearing then in the side mirror. Not sure if you can see that. It's there right now, early enough. And when I set the turning indicators, then it's also flashing So that is a really helpful function, that blind spot monitor. I also have a head-up display now here in the X1, so I don't have to look down to the instruments. I see all the speed and so on, and basic information in the head display. It's also a great addition. And lane changes are so much fun with this vehicle. It's awesome. You get a lane along with the steering, yes. Then the turning indicators that you can hammer in with that great haptic feedback. Wow. And then the steering, yeah, you can live with it, but it should be better from BMW. That's what I'm saying. But driving dynamics wise, it is easily one of the best, if not the best, vehicle in this segment here, compact SUVs, and especially here in this premium area. And with the new generation, they've improved again bit by bit in every single area. The seats are also doing a great job. They hold you tight with these bolsters here. That is really nicely done. And also the perforated sensor tag, it doesn't get too hot. It's breathable. At the same time, it feels like a good quality. It's soft enough that you have good driving comfort. So it is really astonishing what they could squeeze out of this compact SUV. That's what I really love about it. You don't have a too big vehicle. At the same time, it already delivers you everything you might want to have. So yeah, that is really what I love about this vehicle. And all these different positive aspects always come apparent here on the German Autobahn. That's why we always try to include the German motorway tests as strong or as often as possible when we have the cars right here in Germany. As for the suspension, once again, when we're driving a little bit slower here now, that M Sports suspension, adaptive one. So I always say when you have BMWs to pick, either go base suspension or with the adaptive suspension. Never pick an M Sport suspension if it's the fixed one, because that is, I think, just too stiff then. But the adaptive one does a great job. You can have some stiffer, sportier driving when you want to have it in the sports mode. Other than that, you have more comfort also in the base driving mode. Or you just save the money and stick with base suspensions. That would also be fine, because at some point it also gets really expensive with these vehicles, you know. And the X1 is a great SUV, but then again, for the size, what it offers, wow, that is interesting. Like how it's like the image, the mirror here in this Renault Kangoo. You see the big front grille, and then the light on the outside. It's basically, you know, like mirrored right here. So it's like a, wow, that looks cool, interesting, right? Did you know, by the way, maybe some of you guys have seen it, the previous generation BMW 1 Series, that hatch, had a strange curved-in back hatch that basically flipped the mirror image. So always when you were standing behind a previous generation BMW 1 Series, you could see your car and yourself upside down when you were looking, you know, like a situation like this. Yeah, curious fact, right? But definitely fun fact, isn't it? So here now also in the city, very silent. You feel very well insulated from the outside world. The petrol engine here, this 4-cylinder, is still giving a nice sound. It is also enhanced here with the sound actuator when you are in the sport mode especially. So, but I can actually live with that. The thing is, we can argue about that, yes, but at the same time, we feel it's good that the cars are insulated very well. At the same time then, also the engine is insulated, which is one good thing, but then again, we don't hear so much sound. So this enhancement then by the speakers is also somewhat okay, as long as it doesn't sound like totally ridiculous or something. By the way, if you hear this chime here from time to time, it's always when I, you know, there's like 50 kilometers an hour speed limit here, and as soon as I drive 51 or something, was it at 52? Let's see. Wait, 53? 54? Oh no, it's not doing that, but from time to time, this vehicle does react then on that and giving you these chimes. So yeah, you can also turn it off, but for some situations it might also be useful to have that. So this is a good thing here about the BMW X1. It feels very nicely planted on the motorway on the German Autobahn. At the same time, it also feels at home in the city, and you don't feel it's too big or so on. Also when you're getting in some narrow situations, when you park, now it was this time at 53. So that is like this perfect balance, and also one of the reasons why this is still one of the BMW best sellers. So overall they each year produce and sell like between 200,000 and 300,000 pieces. And this is the reason, you know, it is a vehicle here that can actually do almost everything, feels at home in almost every situation. And that's why also this generation, still really like it. If you want to see more of the BMW iX1, the EV version, we have it here in our review of the X1 versus iX1, or one of the competitors is of course also the Mercedes GLA.